Shout out to allhiphop.com. Queen Yonasda here with Jigsaw. And follow me at Queen Yonasda. Looks like Yonasda. It's Queen Yonasda.
What's up, y'all? It's your man Chuck Creekmur, aka Jigsaw, here at One World Studios. And every now and then we get a real friend come through the studio. And yes, we have Queen Yanaja of what are you of? You're of everything.
I am like of everything.
Of everything.
Yes.
Of everything.
National community organizer, activist, media personality. I'm like a slash consultant, everything. And most importantly, I feel like I am an all hip hop alumni.
You are, yeah. This is
Because
25 years.
man, 25
Yeah.
years. When I used to rap,
Yeah.
allhiphop.com was like, you all were like the first to ever take a humble female MC when it was so like when it was like probably 5, when it wasn't so many female MCs
Like now.
today, like now.
Yeah.
And it was hard for female MCs to get on any platform, and you gave me a chance.
That's what's
So
up.
shout out to Chuck and Grouch
We
for the
gotta put you in our
opportunity.
documentary.
I would love to be a
Yeah,
part of the
we gotta
documentary,
get you in there.
especially on social justice and using
Absolutely.
like everything that we've done.
Because we've been in the trenches.
Man, from hip hop for Flint, hip hop for Haiti. We even with the anti SB 1070 song that went viral, which was the remake of Public Enemy. By the time I get to Arizona,
Yep.
we end up going viral with you all posting it
Yeah,
with
so
all hip hop.
a lot of history.
Yep, a lot of hip
So
history.
let's talk. Well, let's start right there
Mhm.
with women in hip hop.
Yeah,
So you have a lot of intersections.
yeah.
Let's start with women in hip hop. So you are a woman in hip hop.
Yes, I am.
You
Yeah.
are. What are your thoughts on what's going on now? It's a lot of conversation about women in hip hop. So let me preface that.
Okay.
A lot of people are upset. A lot of people feel empowered. Some feel like there's only one type. Some feel like it's our time. Like there's a lot of different conversations.
Yeah.
And people are having most of these conversations online, social media. They're not even talking to the people face to face. So
Yeah.
it's never any real productive conversation. So
I
what are your thoughts?
I think that for the first time ever in my hip hop history, that there's so much diversity of female rappers and MCs and artists. But unfortunately, we're not seeing the diversity on a mainstream level.
Right.
We're hearing the same type of content, the same type of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that there is so many other female MCs that are to just get as much publicity as, like Moo Fresh.
Yeah.
Like big sister of ours, I think that she should be right there going viral with Ice Spice.
Absolutely.
Neelam.
Yes.
Neelam,
Yes.
amazing, my sister. She's another phenomenal female MC. Did songs with Jay Electronica, like so many different people, and she should also be just as big as Meg The Stallion.
Yeah.
I think we just need to see more of the diversity before it becomes so oversaturated where we're like, oh, another female rapper, because that can happen.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to that point. I think we're getting to that point where everyone is like, oh God, do I have to see another twerk?
Yeah.
Do I have to see another, hear another song that I can't even let my 12-year-old listen to?
Right.
Like it should be a little bit more diverse on a mainstream level.
Yeah. I think that we're at a crossroads in hip hop.
Yeah.
50 years of hip hop. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, we made it.
We made it.
We made it. Like,
Yeah.
man, it feels good. I'm not 50. I'm 45, but still, I feel like the day I fell in love with hip hop was I was like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was with American Indian Movement.
Mm-hmm.
And we was in LA, and I saw the West Coast Rocksteady crew, like breakdance. I think they would call the LA Breakers.
Okay.
In Venice Beach, and it
Right.
was like, so I was like, yo, what are they doing? And they were just popping and locking, and I was just like, oh my God. And then Run DMC.
Right, of course.
Man, I saw like the them on MTV when I saw that music video with them on
probably Rockbox.
yeah. Yeah, and then because I grew up in Arizona, so my hip hop, is different. But and then for me, what changed was like Queen Latifah.
Mm-hmm.
Once I saw Queen Latifah, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like icon to
Yeah.
me, you know.
So
So
powerful.
yeah, so just to see and then to be a part of hip hop, like, you know, not only from me rapping, but I mean, I was blessed to be on tour with Wu Tang,
Yeah.
you know, and then I was on Wu Tang's management crew.
Right.
You know, I helped with the 20th anniversary of 36 Chambers
Right.
with that whole promo rollout and the management part of that whole tour and of a Better Tomorrow, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So being on it from the back end, and then I used to dance on BET,
Teen Summit.
Teen Summit, and Planet Groove, and so just being on different parts of everything what hip hop has to offer, um, I'm just blessed to know that I have a story.
Yeah.
You know, may a lot of people may not know it, you know, from,
Yeah.
but I think those that do know it counts, you know.
Yeah.
And I think for me is the fact that I'm like, yo, I was there. I was
Mm-hmm.
there in the tunnel. You
Right.
know, I was there at
Woo.
Madison Square, you know, seeing LL Cool J and all these major artists and stuff.
So
And
you was in the tunnel though.
yeah, I was in a tunnel.
Ooh.
I was in a tunnel like back in the day with like mop top, what was it called, mop top crew,
Mm.
Mariah Carey's dancers, and man, the tunnel was lit.
Yeah.
Summer '97 for me. I was out here in New York.
Man.
That was an epic summer.
In all my hip hop history, that's maybe one top five things I didn't do.
You didn't go to the
I never
tunnel?
made it to the tunnel.
What?
I made it to everywhere else,
You
but I
didn't
never
go to
made it
the
to the tunnel.
tunnel?
Nah,
Oh my God, the
nah.
tunnel
And
was
I
just
say that as ashamed of myself because I could have,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know why. I just never did. Even when DMX did like "Get at Me, Dog,"
You
there,
didn't go?
I wasn't there.
Oh my
It's
God, that's
crazy,
man.
and I was
See,
tapped in. It's crazy.
what did you go to the Lyricist Lounge?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Lyricist Lounge
yeah,
was dope.
yeah. Of course.
That was
Yeah.
like, and what was another club during that time?
I went to Wetlands was one of
Oh
them. Do you
yeah,
remember Wetlands? Wetlands
yeah,
was a real underground. It was
yeah.
it was like maybe backpack,
Mhm.
backpack. Yeah. So I did a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there was what was it? Oh God, I can't think of it. It was the church place, the church that they converted
Hmm.
into a club. Limelight.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
another spot.
Okay. Okay.
So it's just good to be
But
like,
yeah.
you know, and then even like with the Roots, I was in Philly at the studio every
Yeah.
like the Roots used to open up their studio and just have everyone just come through that was talented
And play.
and just play and freestyle and
Yeah.
just sing and I was there like to be in those environments. Like I just been blessed to be in these iconic historic places
Yeah.
and of during the time of hip hop.
I'm surprised we didn't meet
I
before
know.
we met.
I know. We probably did,
Maybe
but then we was, you know,
moving
moving and
grooving.
grooving.
Yeah, moving and grooving.
Moving and grooving.
Moving and grooving. So there's two halves to you. There's
Yeah.
the black side and then there's your
Na-
indigenous side.
Yes.
Let's talk about the indigenous side of you and
Mhm.
how that's impacted your life.
Man, everything. My mother, full blood Native American,
Mhm.
Oglala Lakota from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, raised me.
Yeah.
You know, she could have made a decision and just raised me as just being Lakota, but
Mhm.
she fell in love with a black man and she made a decision like, I'm not gonna, because in our native way, we have, I mean, we have a way like you're who your mother is.
Okay.
You know, but my mother was all like, no, I'm not going to set my children up and look at this the color of my child's skin.
Yeah.
You know, like my mother was like, I'm going to make sure that you're around a black community,
Mhm.
strong matriarchal woman, you
Mhm.
know, that taught me. See, my mother couldn't teach me how to be a black woman.
Right.
She was native.
Yeah.
She could teach me how to be a native woman. You
Right.
know, she could only have empathy, you
Mhm.
know, for the black struggle.
Yeah.
But she really, you know, there was certain things that she just did not know how to have that conversation with me in regards to like race with on my black side.
Mhm.
And so she had me around a just amazing black matriarchal woman
Nice.
that taught me about my blackness.
Right.
And that taught me about not just who I am as a black American, but also would bring me around the African culture and learning about African spirituality and the tribes and everything, you know. And so I think that I've lived in three worlds: the white man's world,
Yeah.
and the native world, and then the black world.
Right.
And it's just trying to balance those three. For the first time being 45, it's like I'm now understanding how to balance the three.
Mhm.
But for the longest, it's always been a struggle because it was constantly having to like explain myself, you
Right.
know.
Mhm.
And then and even now when I still people want to ask me and you know, like what are you and all these different questions or whatever, I don't feel like I just say what it is. I don't have to do a lot of explaining,
Gotcha.
and I think that my works kind of show improve
Hmm.
in regards to like who I am in the Native community and who I am in the Black community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went to Standing Rock, and for those that don't know, actually, you explain
Yeah.
what that situation was.
So in Standing Rock, it was so Standing Rock is my sister tribe.
Hmm.
These are the people, the Hunkpapa, the
Hmm.
people of Sitting Bull.
Hmm.
This is up in North Dakota,
Hmm.
about an hour from Bismarck. So there was an oil pipeline that was being built from Standing Rock, North Dakota, throughout the Missouri River, all the way through alongside the Missouri
Right.
River. This was in 2016.
Hmm.
And so we went. It was the youth. The youth was like, we don't want this to happen. This is going to go through our treaty land, and this they're doing this illegally on our land.
Right.
And so the youth brought awareness, and then man, that water called me. I
Yeah.
went up there and I was on the front line. It was so beautiful because people from all walks of life that
Uh-huh.
came, and man, we was up there and we was getting hit with tear gas,
Hmm.
rubber bullets,
Hmm.
all types of chemicals that was being sprayed on us. And then so the beautiful part is that we won. They're
Hmm.
not building, the pipeline is built, but they didn't put no oil through it. And
Hmm.
that is because of the fact that we've been fighting in the courts. The
Hmm.
tribe has
Yeah,
been
that's what's
fighting in
up.
the courts to make sure that doesn't happen. But former President Donald Trump tried to make it happen again.
Hmm.
And then Biden went in right after him
Hmm.
and said, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And then we don't know. So it's one of those things that whoever is president
It's a
could,
never-ending fight.
yeah. But see, we got beat up so bad that I don't know if we would go back on the front line again.
Yeah.
They did infiltration by hiring a private security firm called Tiger Swan,
Hmm.
which is Blackwater,
Right.
which they came in and infiltrated. 90 of us, including myself, have various forms of cancer.
Yeah, I was about
Um,
to ask you about that.
yeah, so I'm battling stage 4 lung cancer now because of the chemicals and everything they sprayed on us up there. And so it's been very difficult, just trying to, because a lot of people are like, well, Standing Rock is over, but for me, I'm waking up every day with the residue of fighting for clean water. And guess what? I would do it again.
Okay.
I would do it
Have
again.
you thought of suing?
We have. It's going to take a lot of money.
Hmm.
It's going to take a lot of money. And then we're going up against Energy Transfer, the
Mm.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Hmm.
These are major government, entities that have a lot of money,
Hmm.
So yeah, we've reached out to the top lawyers in the country, and it's going to take a lot of money.
Has anyone expressed interest in taking
Yes,
the case?
every single one of them, and they was
Okay.
like, it's going to take a lot of money.
Where's brother Crump?
Yeah, he's the one that said it's going to take a lot of money. He was
Okay.
on it for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on it for a minute. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's work
So, if any
together.
funders out there that want to help us sue the government,
Yeah.
hit
Well,
me up.
tell me what's the biggest misconception about the relationship between Indigenous Native Americans and Black Americans?
The biggest misconception is that um light-skinned Native Americans are $5 Indians,
Mm.
and then the real Native Americans are dark-skinned.
Mm.
That is a major stereotype and misconception, because that's like calling my mother, who was light skinned, a $5 Indian,
Mhm.
and saying that she wasn't real. Like, we as people of color, as Black and Native American people, we're monolithic. I
Mhm.
mean, we're not a monolithic people.
Right.
We come in from all shades, sizes, colors. Just as if you
Mhm.
go to Africa, Africa is not a country; it's a continent.
Right.
So with the way that we view everything outside of America or outside of our own culture, because it was stripped from us, taken from us,
Mhm.
we I think the number one thing is, for me, that's the thing that I'm constantly getting bullied on, constantly getting trolled on, because they use my picture and they put it next to like a crazy horse or a sitting bull
Right.
and say, look, she's the real Native
Mm.
American and this is the fake one.
Right.
And I think that is erasure. You're erasing a whole people by
Yeah.
doing that and saying that they're not real.
Mhm.
And by saying that, and see, the thing is that we all have various creation stories.
Mhm.
There's over 500 native, federally and non-federally recognized tribes in the United
Mhm.
States. That means that's over 500 different cultures,
Right.
languages, creation stories.
Right.
We have our three holy books, right? We have the Quran, the Torah, and the Bible. But in indigenous cultures, meaning original inhabitants of the world or of that region, they have their own creation stories. Egyptians have their own creation stories. Nigerians have their own creation stories. You have the people that the Dogon society, the Dogon tribe, they say they come from the stars.
Right.
We have to respect that story. We can't say, no, you didn't. You didn't come from the stars. You come from the dirt, because that's what the Bible said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that sometimes that we get so caught up in this colonial mindset, because colonialism is taking, and being superior in that conversation, or being superior in the place that we're in. And we have to decolonize that. We have to decolonize our ways of how we deal with one another. And I think that when we're constantly saying we're superior than the other oppressed people, then that makes us like we're like the white man. You know what I'm saying? And we have a tendency to do that, because we have a tendency to look at Mexicans as Native Americans or Asians and say, man, the black man is God. You're less than us. Why will we do that? You know what I'm saying? That's a colonial mindset, because when I meet Africans from different tribes in various parts of Africa, they don't have a colonial mindset. They have a, no, this is my equal. This is my brother from this tribe or my sister from this tribe, and I'm gonna respect that. See, the thing is that with Mother Earth, or we call the Unchimaka, we have to be able to respect the land. You know, like you have all these fish in the sea. They respect one another. They may eat one another if need to be, but they do respect. They're living together. They're like, okay, nope. If you go to the deep water, that's where the sharks are at. So they're like, nope. The dolphins are like, no, we're gonna hang out on this side. You have a certain level of respect, and I think that we have to be able to look at the way that Mother Earth is, so we can be able to start treating one another like that.
Is it me, or do white people have no respect for nothing? Listen, I be seeing white people swim with sharks, next to alligators, heads in tigers, and
even when you have,
and I be like, hey.
Yeah, or even when you like they went to, it was some white tourists that went to Mexico, to the pyramids, and they were like they started walking up to the thing, and they was like, get down. They was like, yelling at them and everything like that. Like, yeah.
So you didn't answer my question, though. Nah, I'm just kidding. Nah, white people crazy. I love y'all. Bro,
no, but even crazy. That, I mean, I think that even white folks that are listening, if you know that you come in and you're trying to dominate every space, you have to check yourself. That is a former colonial mindset that your ancestors did in order to be able to inhabit and steal so much of the indigenous parts of the world. You know what I'm saying? So you have to check. If you want to be a better ally or a better white person, just know that don't come in space to dominate. Come in space to be able to compliment everyone that's in there. Stop dominating space. And I think that I think everyone needs to do that. Is to stop dominating space. So all my black folks that's doing the whole picture thing with putting me up and putting a light-skinned native next to one another, stop doing that, because you're doing what white folks do. I would say this, because there's so many black Americans. Even I remember my aunt on my father's side, she was like, we got native in us. And she's like, I'm sorry. She was like, we have Cherokee in our family. But she did the ancestry DNA. There's no native on my dad's side at all. It's all African.
Right.
You don't even have white in him.
Right.
It's like all African, And so the thing is that, like, I think it's good for everyone to go to your own family tree, go to your own, stop letting social media history and memes dictate who you think, trying to tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Because there's only one Chuck Creekmur. You know what I'm saying? You know what your family is. Yeah. You're not going to watch a social media post and be like, man, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or they're from the tribe of Gad, or I'm a Moor. Yeah. Are you really?
I have heard that so many times with my name. You're a Moor. And I'll be like, I don't
You know that? You just met me.
Right.
How do you know me? Like, how do you know my family?
Yeah.
So I always say, everyone, get to know who you are individually, who your family is, and stop relying on. It's good to kind of get a basis. But man, we are not, as Black people, we're not a monolithic people.
Yeah.
Stop putting us in these little things and thinking that's what we all are, because we all are not.
And yet you're a dot connector. You're a connector of
Yeah.
these two worlds. How has how has that been positive? And frame that around hip hop. Because you work with a lot of native hip hop artists.
Man, I mean, being like a bridge to all of that, I've always, it's because of my mother. Like, she taught me to look at our similarities more than our differences. Like, my mother started her first thing. She was the first Native American to work for NBC here in New York. Like, so she came from the res and then came here to New York and worked for NBC as the first Native American to work for NBC. And then from there, she started working for Don King Enterprise with Muhammad Ali. And that was a culture shock for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, here she is, res Native woman, in her early 20s working for the heavyweight champion of the world. And she was the one that was the woman behind the Thriller of Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I thought you knew this.
I didn't know this.
She put on, like, remember, like, the documentary When We Were Kings?
Right.
She was sitting right next to Muhammad Ali with these big glasses.
That's crazy.
You never knew that?
No.
That's where I get my start from.
I've known you all this time and I
Are
didn't
you
know
serious?
this.
You did not, Chuck.
Nah.
See, this is like my boy. For him not to know this is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
I'm a huge boxing fan.
For real?
Yes.
Oh, then we could get into that.
What?
You did not know
I had a whole website for boxing.
For real?
Yeah.
All Hip Hop Sports.
Well, that's yeah.
Y'all miss All Hip Hop Sports.
We're gonna bring it back. Nah, but I just have to say this. I was in the same room as Muhammad Ali at one point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was at a funeral.
Another
promoter, Butch Lewis.
Yeah.
The famed promoter, Butch Lewis. But Don King, I've interviewed him a few times. That's my man. But yo, that's crazy.
So can you want me to tell you the story, since you didn't know? Okay, so basically, so my mom was working for NBC. They needed to fill their quota. And so there was like an industry party or whatever. And my mom went to the industry party.
Wow.
And she ends up going into this where everyone was eating. And they was like, Don King was like, oh, let me introduce you to Muhammad Ali. So he looks at her and she says, hi, my name is Juanetta. And he goes, oh, Pocahontas.
What?
And then he was like, then what do you do? And then she was like, I do PR. And then she ended up getting offered a job to work for Don King Enterprise. So all of the PR work for Muhammad Ali, for everything Don King, really, she did it all. It was like she ended up doing the Thriller of Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle, and if anyone watches When We Were Kings, please watch it again.
Okay.
You'll see a Native American woman with these big glasses on sitting next to Muhammad Ali throughout every time that they interview Muhammad Ali. Yes.
Okay.
So we are live right now on AllHipHopTV, and you are tuning in on AllHipHopTV.com. My name is Queen Yonasda, and I am here with... You have nothing to say?
Chuck Creek. Yeah, interview me. Yeah. Let's do it.
So I'm here with Chuck Creekmur. Are
Chuck,
we really doing this?
Yeah, we're doing this.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna switch mid interview.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
You are tuning into AllHipHop.com, and I am Queen Yonasda, and I'm live here with the founder of AllHipHop.com, Chuck Creekmur. What's up, Chuck?
That's Chuck Jigsaw Creekmur. Thank you.
Jigsaw. Where'd you get Jigsaw from?
Good question. I was difficult to understand.
What happened? What was so difficult?
People found me hard to understand.
Why?
Your name Jigsaw.
And who was these people?
College people. Well, actually, it was one person.
Okay.
In college.
All right, tell me.
I just told you.
No, we really want to know, like, what happened.
No, I can't tell you
in regards to why did you get Jigsaw?
I actually can't tell you all that.
Because all I think is Saw.
Saw. No,
Saw.
I'm way before Saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this a comic book thing?
It wasn't, but there is a comic villain from the Punisher comic book that is named Jigsaw.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So who calls you Jigsaw?
Everybody.
Okay. I've never called you Jigsaw.
But if you go far back enough,
I've been knowing you for over
some
10
people
years.
call me Creek.
Who calls you Creek?
People that know me for a long time.
Okay, so we are here with Creek, aka Jigsaw, aka Chuck, aka the founder of AllHipHop.com, and we are live right now with
One Word
amazing in One Word Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you have coming up next with All Hip Hop?
I have an interview with some brothers from various indigenous communities.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about hip hop.
What do you know about indigenous communities and artists and?
A little something,
Okay.
a little something. But I'm always interested in the shared experience here in this cruel world called America.
Yeah.
And secondly, where do we intersect? You know, there's a lot of artists that are in hip hop that have that blood in them, and we almost don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You know, and then others that have been around for many years, and we haven't acknowledged them either.
You have Native American in you?
I don't know.
I think
I
a lot of
wanna
people
know.
always say they have Native American in their family. So do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know, but
I
you
don't
heard
know.
about it? Was
I
your
have
great great grandmother?
I don't
You
know.
heard that she
I
was
would
a
just
Cherokee
rather
princess?
say I don't know than to say
Oh, okay.
anything that is inaccurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And who's the name of these artists?
My man Keith IMC.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my dude.
Okay.
Where's Natani Means?
Natani Means. He is in Albuquerque. Shout out to Natani
That's
Means.
my dude.
Yeah, Natani's dope.
Yeah.
Natani is amazing. Natani Means he's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Just dropped a new song. So you got to tune in to Natani Means, son of Russell Means from the
Yeah.
American Indian movement.
I know. But
What-
wait, you're supposed to be interviewing
I
me.
am. I'm about to ask
Oh,
you
okay,
something.
Because we're
'Cause this is
talking
what-
about other
This is
people.
This is what
which-
co-hosts do.
Nah.
So this month is what?
This is it's 2 months, but it's also Hip Hop History Month.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's also Native American history.
And
Native American Heritage
Native
Month.
American Heritage. Yeah, all of that. All in
Yeah.
1 month.
That's so great. And it's great that you are acknowledging Native Americans on allhiphop.com.
Yeah, I was going through my phone and we got a picture with Kool Herc
Mm.
from 2016. All of us.
Wow, we
Yeah.
do. Me and you?
All of us.
We do.
The last time you were here with all the brothers.
I don't remember
We
that.
were in the club. And Kool Herc was in the club.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yep. Because he came to see Keith IMC.
Yeah.
Who's a good friend of his.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get into it with you interviewing
Okay.
Keith IMC and Anton Edwards, Anton X.
You're not a good interviewer. You ain't asked me no questions.
I did ask some questions, right?
Eh.
I was doing a
I thought-
co-host.
I thought you. Oh, okay. This
I
for the
was doing
co-host.
yeah, this is the co-host.
Oh, okay, okay.
Wasn't I doing a great co-host to go into who the next people are? Wasn't I doing good? I did good.
She's giving Pat more and more work. Pat like.
Wasn't that good for me to co-host with him for the All Hip Hop TV
She
for
put
Atlanta,
Pat on the
Georgia?
spot.
You think I was? See, and I'm good
I
at
didn't- I
like
didn't get-
to ping pong off of him, right? Was that good? Let's do this.
All right, Pat.
So,
Nah, that's what's up. No, but look. Let's wrap the interview. Look, where we at with it? Where are we at? Culture.
That was my audition.
No, you good.
Okay.
But no, seriously, as a culture,
Mhm.
right? We see a lot of turmoil. No, you know what? I don't even want to get serious. Let's talk about comic books. We're both fantasy, comic books,
Yes.
sci-fi,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
You know, we're both in that world too. That's a whole nother world.
Yeah, we're both nerds.
Yeah, nerds.
Major hip hop nerds.
Yeah. So you have a whole
In a good way.
room devoted to Funko.
No one knows this, Chuck. Why are you telling the world?
Oh, my fault.
Okay, so since this is breaking news here on allhiphop.com, I collect Funko Pops and I have a whole room filled with Funkos. And I got into collecting Funkos because I read, well, first off, I bought my first one, which was Fred Sanford.
Mhm.
And I got it for $10 at a comic book store in Helen, Georgia. And then I went to another store and it was a guy that had all these Funkos everywhere. He collects Funkos, but it's a store that he has his Funkos in. And I was like, I have Fred Sanford. And he said, do you know how much that's worth? And I was like, no, I just got it last week for $10. He said, it's worth $100.
Mhm.
And then he said, look up toy collecting. So I started collecting Funkos because in Forbes and Wall Street Journal, they said that toy collecting like Funkos, like Pokemon, like Barbie, and Lego is worth more value. You get return on your investment more than better than gold,
Wow.
as well as some stocks.
Wow.
So I started collecting toys. And then, since we're talking about hip hop, Kwame,
Shout out to Kwame.
shout out to Kwame. I follow him, and I got you following him now. He collects toys too. Like he's huge in the whole like Comic Con community of like toy collecting hip hop toys.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And shout out to all the people who I've trailblazed in this world in hip hop.
Yeah.
Because I've been in this forever, ever, and I see a lot of y'all out there showing up at Comic Cons, following in my footsteps. So
And you have been going to Comic Con for a long
Look,
time.
Listen, I went to my first convention in I ain't even gonna say the date because it's so long ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, shout out to all the pioneers in that space. Dennis Cowan is one of my heroes. He's a black comic book artist who was black in the 80s, and I was like, how did I know that he was black? And oddly enough, his sister is Rhonda Cowan, who is a long-term Def Jam employee. She's got her own history altogether back in the Russell era and all that.
Yeah.
You know, the Def Jam jackets, varsity jackets and all that. Sorry. So who's your favorite superhero?
Oh man, I have so many. You know what? No. It's and oh my God, Shamar, what's his name? My favorite superhero. Doctor Strange. No, it's the chemo brain. No, that's what it was.
All right.
It's the chemo brain.
It's the
chemo brain. I have brain fog sometimes. Doctor Strange is my favorite.
Okay, why?
Because I love that he goes into all these different universes, and I just love like magician work, that magic work. Yeah, Doctor Strange is my favorite.
What are your thoughts on the?
And yours is?
My favorite will always be the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Always, because I can identify with the duality.
I don't want to see the Hulk side. I've never seen the rage.
Yeah. And the being the meek and the mild, and then just flipping. And that's why I have such a control. That's why I never drank and I never smoked.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I always stay in control. And that's why I just avoid all aggressive situations.
Yeah.
Because once it switches, it's like
I don't want to even see that side.
You'll never would.
Yeah, I never have, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
I put myself in danger sometimes, and I'll be like, "Yo, son, you can really, you're not bulletproof. Stop." But not the Hulk. I also love Wolverine, but I love specifics. I love Frank Miller Wolverine, which is a specific artist, one of my favorites. The same way I love the Dark Knight, but the Frank Miller Dark Knight.
Yeah.
You know, so. I just go back. I used to draw comics, and
Who's your favorite villain?
Favorite villain? Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good question. Who? Galactus is
That's
cool.
my son in the background.
I like Galactus. Shout out to
Shamar.
Shamar, the superstar, throwing his 2 cents in here. No, yeah, I'm not a DC guy. I'm a Marvel guy. But I love the Joker.
Yeah, Joker's. That's.
I love Joker's DC. Yeah, DC. I love the Kingpin. He's Marvel. I love Magneto because Magneto is. They say Magneto is Malcolm and Professor X was Martin, but I heard that's not necessarily the truth. But I love the fact that both of those guys have their principles, and they believe what they believe, and there's a reason for why they're crazy.
Yeah,
and I like
Scarlet Witch too.
Scarlet Witch, yeah, but she's not bad. She's really a good.
Yeah, she's
they
good
they,
and
they
bad.
flipped it. Yeah, they flipped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody with a dope backstory like that has a reason is what I like.
Yeah.
You know, Uncle Ben died and Spider-Man becomes a superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I feel like
Did
when
you watch the new Miles Morales?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Oh, I love that. Shout out to the creators of Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Nah, that's amazing.
I think. Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think right now is the state of these types of movies? Because we're seeing less and less. We're seeing maybe a bubble busting.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Yeah, because they're going out, especially the sales for the Marvels was like it
What's the
tanked.
lowest? Yeah,
We has the
lowest ever.
lowest that
Yeah.
they've ever seen. And then DC keep on recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Flash was a dump.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. I like the Flash, believe it or not.
yeah, I don't like
Oddly
the
enough.
actor as
Yeah, the actors is
Yeah,
POS,
yeah,
but I watched it anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, I just watched it anyway.
Aquaman.
Yeah,
But the fact that he even got rid of
they got rid of everybody.
he
It's a
got rid of
whole
yeah,
reboot.
yeah, DC. But even with Marvel, I think that they just need to just chill.
Yeah.
And Loki was dope. Loki, that whole 1-2 season,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But they just need to chill for a second
Yeah.
and then just put out the next Avengers.
The next year we'll only have one Marvel movie, and that's Deadpool
That's good.
3 or whatever.
That's
4.
good. So it gets all of us all excited about the Avengers
Mm-hmm.
because I'm ready for Avengers.
Me too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got to bring it back.
Especially Iron Man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
up. That's what's up. Well, it was great talking to you
Yeah.
as always, and great seeing you.
Thank you, AllHipHop.com.
We're all superheroes in our own way.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I call myself, and I'll probably get a lot of feedback from this. But me, Tamika Mallory, Sean King, Carmen Perez, my son Lennon, Linda Sarsour with the Avengers.
The social justice Avengers.
The social justice Avengers. Always on the front line. We form like Voltron when it's time.
Talk about.
Hey, I rhymed.
You know what? Let's talk about.
I rhymed some more.
Let's talk about Sean King real quick.
Okay, let's talk about Sean King.
He gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But tell me, before you tell me your personal testimony, tell me why you like him.
I think that his heart is huge. He has a huge heart. His intentions is always in a good space and place for the people. He used to be a minister. And I think that foundation of ministry, of serving people, and not doing it for profit. He had the same van with a hole in the bottom of his car for van for years. I think just like 3 years ago, his wife made him get rid of this van. So that just goes to show how humble he is. As a friend, as a brother, man, he's helped me so much. And I was on my way going to the doctor. I was on my way going to the doctor, and my car broke down. And I'm texting everyone in the group chat. I'm like, my car just broke down. I'm on my way to the hospital. And he was like, do you have a GoFundMe up for your cancer? And I was like, yeah, but no, people have donated, but not a lot. And while I was in the hospital for that week, he was able to raise enough money for me to get a brand new car. Wow. And I asked him, do you want a percentage of this? Do you want anything? He said, no. And I was like, well, can I send you a gift? No. I have like some Native American blankets or something. He said, no, don't send me anything. He just does stuff from the bottom of his heart. And because he just wants to, he really strongly believes in freedom, justice, and equality, and so because of that, of course, he's going to get hate. I know there is from early on in his career of fighting, as a writer and everything, a lot of people was like, I worked with him and this. I think that while people are in their growing period, people need to give people grace, and so, no, I love Sean King. Sean King is like one of my closest friends, and him and his wife are just amazing, and they're great parents to their children. So they have a whole tribe of children, and so he is. He really is.
All right.
Yep. Okay. So shout out to Sean King and Until Freedom, and
yeah, I want to get all those good people in here at One World Studios.
Yeah, you should.
Tamika's like a jumping bean though. She tried to get. I talked to my son yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was open to some things we talked about. So.
Yeah. So they're down in Kentucky fighting for Breonna Taylor. They was able to get Daniel Cameron not elected, which is good.
That was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
That was karma.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, we do it to ourselves. That's all I mean, and not that he's one of us, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
So.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother thing.
But thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Always. We fam.
Yeah.